On this channel, $1 Million Made Easy, we love to run numbers for people. What we want to look at in this video is somebody is getting ready to retire and they want to know if their money is going to last. Well, we oftentimes look at its figure. Well, do I need $1 million? Do I need 1.5 million? Do I need 700,000? Well, we can't really answer that question until you sat down and figured out what your monthly expenses are going to be in retirement. Also, if you have some other income streams on top of that, for example, if you get Social Security, I'm just going to use the average. Say you're age 60 and you're wondering if you have enough to retire, and you're going to get the average 2023 for Social Security recipient was 1,907. So we need to know this number right here. What are your monthly expenses? If we don't know this number, even if we have these other numbers, we can't tell whether this number over here, your nest egg, is going to be enough to last if you don't know what your monthly expenses are after taking into account Social Security. So let's say, for example, you calculate you need 5,000 a month in retirement expenses. You want to give yourself a 3% COLA because you don't just want to have 5,000 a month going forward. You want to be able to increase that to keep up with inflation. We also want to do a 70-30 split because you don't want to keep all that money in the S&P 500 because when the market's going down, you want to be able to take it over from a cash reserve account. Now we can start looking at this number. What's the nest egg that you need? So let's just say, for example, we're going to plug in 800,000 here. 800,000, 5,000 a month. Social Security kicking in the fifth year. In other words, this 5,000 is growing by 3%, and in the fifth year, Social Security kicks in, so you don't need the 5,464 coming out of your nest egg because 1,907 of that's coming from that Social Security. So you only need 3,557. Let's see how many times this would have worked out in the last 100 years. What we do is we use the S&P 500 returns for the last 100 years. And we look at not just the good decades, the bad decades. We look at everything in between and we just run the numbers. So let's see how many times you'd run out of money in the last 100 years, given this scenario, beginning with 800,000. Because the question is, well, is 800,000 going to be enough? We won't know unless you know what your monthly expenses are going to be after taking into account other income streams, like, for example, Social Security here. So in this case, we see 800,000. 9% of the time you'd run out of money in 20 years, 18% of the time you run out of 30 years. That's using the data for the last 100 years. This is the actual graph. How many times you run out of money? When it's below the zero here, you're running out of money. During the Depression years, you would, and during the 2000 to 2003, because that was a problematic decade too, because you had these 3 down years and then down 37. But we won't know if this 800,000 is enough unless you know what your monthly expenses is and you take into account what you're getting for Social Security. So what do you need to withdraw from your nest egg? And after the fifth year, you'd be needing this amount right here. Let's go ahead and do a couple other things here. Let's change this to 1 million. Again, everybody wants to know this final figure. What do I need in my nest egg to be able to retire? Again, you don't know that until you know what your monthly expenses can be expected to be in retirement. Then you start running the numbers. If you did have 1 million, we'll see these numbers improve, obviously, from 800,000. This is light blue is after 20 years, dark blue is after 30 years. Look at this. You have a 97.5% success rate if you need 5,000 a month and your Social Security kicks in the fifth year, you're taking a 3% COLA and you have an asset allocation of 70-30. That's what we do on this channel. We run numbers for people. But I saw that 54% of American workers haven't calculated what their monthly expenses will be in retirement. So how in the world are you going to know if this is enough if you don't know what this is? For example, if you figure you need 6,000 a month, then how's this $1 million going to last then? You're going to see these numbers, more of them is going to lead to failure because you're taking out more. 10% of the time you run out of money in 20 years. 20% of the time you run out of money in 30 years. But you need to know this number right here before you know if this nest egg is enough. Then, of course, we can play with these other numbers, the COLAs, the asset allocation. But you got to start with what are your monthly expenses and 54% of Americans have not done that. That's what we do on this channel, $1 Million Made Easy. We run numbers for people. Please consider subscribing. Please share this channel with friends and family. Let them know there's a channel out there where run numbers for them. And please like the video, share the video, and thanks for watching.